We begin with Reggie Jackson selling his S and his Y, two A's, one N, a K, two E's, a T, a D, a U, an M, and an I, because there is an I in Reggie. Yes, Reggie Jackson is selling the 10-foot tall letters that used to sit atop the original Yankee Stadium in New York, which necessarily means he's the guy who bought the 10-foot tall letters that used to sit atop the original Yankee Stadium in New York after it closed in 2008. Turns out he also bought his old locker and part of the bleachers where his third home run ball landed during Game 6 of the 1977 World Series. And if you just want to drift off while I'm talking, you can now start to do that so you can think about where he keeps the bleachers. If you do that, I'll understand. Sotheby's will auction off the letters on the 1st of next month. They think they will fetch between $300,000 and $600,000, and they are to be sold only as one lot, because you can plug them in and switch them on and they light up bright and blue as the sunniest sky. And I'm not sure they're going to sell them as one lot, because the market for them appears to be Reggie Jackson and me, and I already turned them down 6 years ago. Jackson and the auctioneers are not saying what he paid for them when Yankee Stadium was dismantled and sold off literally piece by piece like it was an Egyptian tomb being looted by British explorers in 1902. But the letters were offered to me by the Steiner sports people, and I have a vague memory that they wanted maybe $20,000 the letter tops, but it may have been way less than that. I remember for certain that they'd give you a price if you took all 13. And I thought about just getting the K, but it was 10 feet tall and nearly 10 feet wide, and there was the small problem about the front door at my place. I guess it just was not widely covered at the time, but when Shea Stadium and Yankee Stadium closed simultaneously in the waning days of the 2008 season, the teams aggressively worked to sell everything from the foul poles to the menus in the stadium clubs to literally the dirt on the mound. The Mets didn't even wait for the season to end. If you look closely at some of the highlights from the closing weekend's worth of games at Shea in 2008, Marlins at Mets, you might notice tiny little stickers on various things, like pieces of the outfield wall or the infield wall. If you went to one of those games, you would have seen the stickers on virtually every turnstile and sign and the big pictures of Casey Stengel and Seaver and everybody else on the wall behind the luxury boxes. If you've been able to go into the dugout and the clubhouse, you would have seen stickers on the bat rack and the chairs the players sat in. They were stickers indicating that those things had already been sold. The one on the 338 panel in the right field corner with an orange stripe for the foul pole, that had my sticker on it. So did the lower part of the foul pole right above it. The Mets had invited known suckers like me, although I prefer the term collector, to a floor-by-floor, agonizingly detailed scavengers tour before the ballpark closed. This took hours. Nothing was not for sale. I got a couple of signs, not one but two parts of the outfield wall. I mean, how many outfield walls are there? Some turnstiles, a couple of number lights from the scoreboard. By the way, if you turn those on, you can literally read them from 8 blocks away. And I also got some stupid stuff, too. But in retrospect, it was what I turned down that amazes me now. Since I had covered the playoffs and the World Series from inside of it, the Mets offered to sell me the first base dugout. Now, where was I going to put a first base dugout? The Yankees waited longer, and it was an unfortunate decision. With the economic collapse in late 2008, by early 2009, people just were not shelling out the big bucks anyway. And I mean, during the Shea tour, I saw some idiot agree to spend $10,000 on a 3 or 4-year-old life-size picture of Casey Stengel, which you could have had them make for him for less than $1,000. By the summer of 2009, the Yanks through Steiner were asking collectors what they wanted and making suggestions and offering deep discounts. I had wanted that recreation of the famous original stadium facade, which had been installed atop every locker in the clubhouse. The Steiner people said the price would be the same for just the facade or for a whole locker, so I bought a whole locker. It had been Mariano Rivera's. More recently, it had been Damaso Marte's. And sure, it throws off the decor of the living room a little bit, but as I tell the girlfriend, hey, it could have been worse. Could have been a first base dugout. The reason I bought, and 9/10 of this stuff is in very expensive storage, is that prior to the looting of Yankee and Shea stadiums, this kind of memorabilia just wasn't not preserved. It wasn't sold. I mean, lots of suckers like me, I prefer the term collector, have stadium seats, but how many of us have stadium walls? Look at the old footage of the destruction of Ebbets Field in Brooklyn or the Polo Grounds or almost any other old stadium, and it's exactly that. It's destruction. You want part of the scoreboard? Sorry, we just put a wrecking ball through it. Now, of course, the pendulum, or the wrecking ball, has swung completely the other way. The 49ers and the Giants sold everything in Candlestick Park in San Francisco except bags of air from Kanye West's appearance there. They may have sold everything right down to Colin Kaepernick. But the moment the stadium artifacts business jumped the shark from the sublime to the ridiculous was not this auction, but the one in November 2005 when the Cardinals dismantled Old Busch Stadium. They got $21 grand for the locker of Albert Pujols when they liked him there, and $4,300 for one of the foul poles, which, by the way, is a hell of a price if you have some place to keep an entire foul pole. But what will live in infamy was the Cardinals selling the home team urinal. Opening bid was $100. The winning bid was $2,174. Who would buy such a thing and then proudly put it up on his office wall? Courtney Shands. That's who. Dr. Courtney Shands. Dr. Courtney Shands, urologist, South 40 Drive, St. Louis, Missouri. In his collection, it is, of course, the ideal specimen. Maybe he wants Reggie Jackson's Yankee Stadium letters. I mean, look, from the 10-foot letters spelling out Yankee Stadium, you take the K from Yankee, then the I, then the D from Stadium, then the N, then take one of the E's, you finish it with the Y from Yankee, kidney. That would look well in a urologist's office. There are even enough letters left over to make the sign read Team Kidney.